Alright, welcome to the channel and welcome to another series of videos. So this is not going to be a one-off. It's going to take a few videos to do what I want to do here. This is a scene from, I think it's Black Mesa. And I want to do some of this. I'm not going to do the characters, and I'm probably not going to do this debris, but this general room and the trim, the ceiling, the door, and the cabinets. Just sort of for some practice of modeling. It's not very difficult to model. More so the texturing, which will be done in Substance Painter, and look something like this. It'll be inspired by this, but I can't get this exactly the same. I've talked to some of the guys that worked on this game, and my understanding is that a lot of the textures were painted in Photoshop. So I'll be using Substance Painter, so I won't get the same effects, but we're going to go for something like this. Alright, so over here in my version of Blender, an older version of Blender, I brought in a character model. This is just a free model. If you search for human model, I brought that in just for some relative scale. It's not going to be real world scale. I've also got snap to increment on, and I'll use that a bit, although it's not really necessary. But so I'm going to bring in a plane and rotate X 90 and just drag it up, and it'll snap to there. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to come up to about, that's 1, 2, that's 5. I'm going to go one more for the ceiling, which might seem a little odd, but the character stands around that high, so we can get in the door. And then, so I was thinking of that, and I think I'll take that and just slide it over, and I'm going to take this and make it that wide to start with. Now it's not going to be modular, but yeah, so I'm actually going to bring that down. I might even bring it all the way down to there. And what I'm looking at is this wall here, which you can't really see very well. Assuming it stands down, then it's going to come out, go down till it hits there. So let's say I do that. I'm going to make this all as one piece. I'm going to extrude out, and I'm going to come out about, is that half? That's 5. Yeah, like that. And then I'm going to extrude. I'm going to probably come to there, because there's this thing in front of it, and then there's a bit of the wall there, a bit of the wall there. So I think that's okay. And I'm going to start coming out. So I really don't necessarily need the snap, but just to sort of get a sense of it. So you're going to have the door over there and then that there. Let me bring this out now, extrude out to there, and just get a sense of what that's like if I'm in the room, kind of looking at it this way. So there, out, there, over to the door, and then down here. I'm just looking at the width of this, and I may want to go out a little further. Just do something like that. Let's start getting the door in. Actually, just before I do that, I'm going to turn off the snap, drop an edge loop in just there. You'll notice it's pretty much at his head. Now, what I'm looking at is this green painted area versus this white. This looks like it comes up, you got the trim about 2/3 of the way up, and then you hit the trim, and then there's another section that's a bit more than this. So I'm thinking that, what am I thinking? I think it gets around there anyhow for the green. Maybe it's a little lower, but I want to work on the trim actually, so maybe that's what I'm going to put in first, and then I can think about the rest. So what I'm going to do is, I dropped an edge loop in. I'm going to break it out and take that and extrude up a little bit to sort of get the sort of height of that trim. I'm looking at this one here, just how big I need to make it. Maybe I'll go like a little bit more, something like that. Now if I look at this in face orientation, some of it's red and some of it's blue, so I'm going to recalculate. It's all red and then flip. So if we're inside the room, we can see the walls. If you're outside, you really wouldn't see them. Anyhow, I'm going to take that and I'm going to add solidify to that, and figure out which way it goes into the room, like that, and then turn on even thickness and decide that that's probably okay for the thickness. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and in object mode apply that, and then come back in here, press 3 for face selection, and select those faces. We certainly don't need those. And I can still lengthen this room if I want to. And then I'm going to select the back face here. I'm going to hold shift and keep clicking and just select the back face. We're not going to see that. I'll delete that face. And let's get you out of the wall there. Okay, and so now I want to come in here, and what I want is I want an indentation here where I can put black, and I want this part to be a little bit longer than that part. So I'm going to put my Control R, I'm going to drag an edge loop up sort of near the top, and one even there is fine as long as this is longer than that. Maybe I'll bring that up a tiny bit, GZ. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to Shift Alt and click in face selection down around there, and I get the whole thing, and I'm going to press E and Alt S and either pull or push. Looks like if I pull it comes in, and I'll pull it in a little ways, and then now I want to get rid of that face and come over here and get rid of that face. So now I've got that, but I'm going to do some beveling on that. So let's press 2 for edge selection and Shift Alt and click this one and this one and this one, and I may bevel those separate than this other one. So Control B, pull, and I'm going to put in 2 edges. Doesn't have to be beveled that much because this one I want, I don't know, just seems a little rounder down there. I could be wrong actually. So I'm just going to bevel that, and if it ends up a bit more then fine. So that's what I've got so far, but I'm going to add an edge loop in here like this. I'm going to Control R, Control B, hold Shift, pull, roll back so I have 2, and spread it out very close. I don't want it to collide. And I'm actually going to use this edge, so I'm going to Shift Alt and click that, Shift Alt and click, and that'll select it all the way along. And I'm going to mark seam there, and that's going to help me in Substance Painter as well. So I'm going to mark seam there, and then that's good. So I just want to look at that, and you see as I look at it, it looks like it's about 2/3 up the wall and then about 1/3. So right now it's sort of halfway. So I'm going to come in, and I'm actually going to bring it up to about there, I think, like that. So that's going to be there. And then I'm going to take this again, and I think I'm going to, actually I'll do that part later. What I want to do here is just maybe I'll select this point. It's kind of middle almost. I'm going to mirror this down and then move it. So I'm going to mirror. It's going to be set the origin 3D cursor. It's going to be in the Z, and that's fine even there. I'm going to apply it and then move it down, because what I want to do is take this one and push it down so it's really this part and this black. Now it might not be the exact same, but this is the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to apply that mirror and then come in, select a bit, and Control L, and I'm going to pull this down now. It's a little hard to tell without a floor on here, but you can look over here and see where the wall is, and I'm actually going to separate this out, P to break it out there, so I can just select that one. And I'm just looking at the wall here, GZ. I'm just going to move it up so that I see some of this stuff. Now I can get rid of some faces later, or sooner, I suppose. Maybe we'll do that now. Let me just double check this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I need that piece there sticking out. Maybe I could keep it. So why don't I do this? Let's Shift Alt and click those faces. That should go all the way around, and look, and then go Control plus to expand our selection. Maybe I'll come up to there, and this little piece can just stick into the ground. So let's get rid of those faces, and I'll have that. and it possibly will have to go lower into the floor. I can also, you know, scale this in the Z and, you know, make it a little bit different. I'm just going to leave it there for now. I will probably copy this one or this one up anyhow to do the top one. And the only thing is, yeah, as long as it sticks down a little bit, and it may not even show in the position that it is. I'm going to save that. All right, let's start thinking about that door now, and also the green section. So we've got that there. Are these walls tall enough yet? I want the green a little bit lower, and I feel like the walls need to be taller to do this. Let me not worry about the increments. If I bring that up, and I bring this one up, and I bring that up, kind of like that space versus that space, maybe down a little bit. All right, let's work on the door. I'm just going to slide an edge loop in and think about where that door is, this wall here. So maybe I'll put it around there, and I'll drag another one in, and we'll take this guy and just move him over here. Let's rotate Z -90. And let's see what this is looking like. Okay, so where is it? It's this. So that's definitely too wide. Let's see. Oh, I didn't need to go into edit mode for him, really. I don't want to lift him. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm going to be putting a door frame on anyhow. Let's now the door goes a little bit higher than the green, or actually goes up to just underneath the trim. Let's do this. Let's put it there. Let's get rid of those faces and just have a look at that. So it's a big door. I can always scale him up, you know. I can just make him a bit bigger. That's fine. Let's say the door was there. Then I would want to cut the trim. So, okay, move out of the way, mister. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to drop an edge loop in there, and it's there. I'm going to slide it down. Control 3 is really the area I'm looking at. And I'm going to scale Y0 in case it wasn't straight. And I'm going to switch this to edge. And I'm going to pull and hold my control. Then it'll snap to there. Yeah, okay, another one. Let's just pull it over. Let's scale Y0, make sure it's straight. Snap to there. And then 3 for face selection, Shift Alt and click one of these edges and we'll get everything there. And get rid of that. And I can still make the door wider if I need to. Nobody walks in the door with their hands like that. All right, so I think that's okay. It does seem a little tall, but I'm gonna go with that because I can always just go like that. And there's my guy. Okay, it does actually feels a little narrow, and a lot of times in games, this is not for a game, they make the door extra wide anyhow because you got the character going through. You don't want them colliding into the wall, into the doorway. Sorry, did I say wall? I meant doorway. And so it's not surprising if the door is a little wider. Like I say, this is not for a game, mind you. But what I need to do over here is I need to close that off. So I'm going to Shift Alt and click that and F. No, I guess I'm not going to do that. All right. I'm going to, yeah, let's see. I guess I'm going to take this vertex. I'll switch this to vertex here. And I'm going to extrude and snap to there. And then I should... let me just merge my distance in case I need to. I should be able to just close that off. And then we'll we'll deal with it. Yeah. Do the same thing over here. Take this vertex, extrude in and snap to there. Shift Alt and click, and that didn't work. Let me just see what I've done. Here, I can do it this way. Let's join those up, and I should be able to close that. Yeah, okay, and no problem here, eh? Okay. And what I'll do is I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to actually mark a seam there. Otherwise it'll be a really weird unwrapping. It still may be a little weird, but let's mark a seam there. So we got the doorway. I'll do other work on the door later, and I'll be able to take this and extend it back in later as well. I just want to look at the positioning of things and think that's kind of good to start with. All right, so let's go over to UV editing, and we have this. Let's define a material. Let's call this walls, and let's also put that into a collection called walls. Okay, and this is going to have the material trim, and this one is also going to have the material trim, and I may just go ahead and join them together, and those are going to go into a collection called trim. Okay, and let's hide him for now. Actually, let's put him in a collection too, just easier to see. Call it human. All right, it's just that, so everything's just in a collection. And I'll hide him and come in here, and I think I'm gonna straight out unwrap this. Now, like I was saying before, this is not going to be modular. You could do it modular if you wanted to. There's pros and cons when using Substance Painter for dirt and stuff if you're not like vertex painting. I'm also not going to have any incredibly detailed texture, so I'm okay going unwrap. I'm going to rotate -90, and let me just use this to pack, and that's going to be how much space it occupies, which is not that much. You could split this up into pieces as well, but I'm not going to bother. I think we're going to be okay. The next thing I'm going to do is, let's look at this. Let's see if I just do a straight unwrap on that, what it looks like. Actually, let me take this piece. Oh, nah. Yeah, sorry. What I want to do here is I want to put seams in the corners to break it up, because it's just too long and you'll get no, resolution at all. So I'm going to split this. I should be able to split this like this, mark seam. Let's just have a look at this piece. Okay, and that'll give me this. And then you could straighten these if you really want to, but I don't think I need to. So now I'm going to come down to this piece as well. Shift Alt to click that edge and this edge, and might as well go in the corner, and I've got a seam there, and should be the last corner here. Control E, mark seam. Let's just have a look at that. Select it all, U, unwrap, be like that. The only thing is I could take pieces like this and I could rotate them, but I don't think I even really need to. So that gives me that. I would have to pack that. I could go ahead and just do a pack. I'm using Packmaster instead of Blender. If I come over here to look at this stuff, like which ones are these horizontal ones? Okay, maybe I should be looking. You see this one, like this one here, is horizontal. This one here is vertical. So if I cared very much, I could rotate that. I'll pack it again in a minute. This one is that one, that kind of thing. So they're all going in the same direction. But the type of texturing that I'm probably going to do is not really going to matter. So if I take all that and I uncheck rotation enable, I can get them, they're all going in the same direction, unless I'm missing something, very possible. So I got that and the door. Now I did put different materials on it, and I actually want to take that back. I'm going to leave the material called walls. I don't want this as a separate material, although, because then it gets its own UV, and then this. But I'm actually going to get rid of that and just put it in with the walls, and that way the materials, the textures in Substance Painter go on everything together instead of separate materials. They kind of blend together a little bit better. Let's see if it's all selected. Let's try pack, and you can see my little walls down here, and these are the little ends down there. But that should be okay for what I am intending on doing. And so I'm going to export this as an FBX with this material called walls, which is, trim could be part of the walls, into Substance Painter. So let's go ahead and do that. Just create an FBX. I should have probably looked to make sure everything is facing the right way, but it looks like it is. All right, I'm going to, and then you can see it's walls. I'm going to go ahead and bake the mesh maps. I'm going to do this at 2K, uncheck ID, and I think I can uncheck thickness as well. So here it is. I'm going to turn on anti-aliasing. And just have a look. Hopefully we're okay. All right, we'll give it a try anyhow. All right, so back to this for a moment. We've got the walls, we've got some trim here, and we're going to work on that stuff. We've got basically this trim and this, and you'll notice there's another piece up here. I may be copying this and pushing it up through the ceiling. But in the meantime, we need a sort of slightly gritty but dusty, dirty white section and greenish section. I may not get my colors exactly the same, so I'm going to delete this layer and add a fill layer. And I'm at 1K right now, and I'm going to alt-click color. I want some color. I want some roughness. I'll bring the roughness up just a little bit above half. And for the color, I'm just going to darken this a little bit and kind of go with that color for now. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that layer, and I'm going to switch this to, I don't know if it's a greenish blue or exactly what color it is. You could color sample, so it's a bit more green, right? Well, we'll start with that. And I'm going to add a black mask, come over to my polygon fill, and that's why I put that line in there. And I'm just going to select these areas here, and that'll put that on. Now I can easily go back and change that color later if I don't like it. We'll just get something in there for now. All right, so this is going to be, I'm going to call this white wall. And I'm going to call this green wall, or white paint, green paint. I'm going to add a folder, and I'm going to call this wall. And I'm going to drag these in. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of texture to it. So right now, remember, I had very little UV space. But it's not really going to matter for this. It will a little bit for the next part. I'm going to add a fill just with height. I'm going to bring the height up, maybe more than I need it. And I'm going to add a black mask and a fill. There's it, fill. And in the grayscale, I'm going to search for maybe noise. And maybe I'll use this, one of these dirt, maybe that dirt. I'm going to chuck that in. All right, so we see that. And I'm probably going to switch to triplanar. Let's turn that off. Come down, and I'll drag the scale up. It only goes up to 4. Some disorder, that's fine. And it's on the trim right now, let's not worry. And then up here, maybe I'll change the scale to around, let's try 5. See if you can still see it. You can see it in the trim a little bit. It's there, it just depends where the light is. Now the resolution is not that good, but I don't really care. And also I'm going to be bumping this up to 2K. Now when I do that, you might actually see it. So you can see it there on the wall. And then we could decide, you know, I want to bring that up higher. I'll put it at 6 for now. And we'll see. When I do my post-processing, you'll be able to see it better. It'll come through a little bit. All right. But we don't want that on the trim. And so this is, I'm just going to call this noise. So I'm going to come back to the folder level here. I'm going to add a black mask. And my polygon fill, I'm going to choose just the mesh. And just click there. And so the trim is something different. So that's there. So now let's add, just want to go back and see if I want that a little bit whiter, and I might. Okay, let's come back to here. All right, good enough for the moment. Okay, so let's add some more effects in here. Let's do a fill. Let's do color. Maybe bring that down a little bit. Maybe we'll try maybe a smart mask with dust. Search for dust. Let's try this one first. Just drag that in. It may not be overly noticeable against this gray. It's almost the same. So I think maybe I'll darken this again. Let's see, if I darken it a lot, you can see something going on. Let's just put that there. And that may not be the best mask. In fact, maybe this should be a little bit lighter. And I'll come in here and just going to play with this. Yeah, I'm not really liking that particular one. So I'm going to clear that mask and try dust subtle. Let's see what that does. Yeah, okay, that's okay. Like if we have a look at this, okay, so we see some of that now. Maybe this is going to be dark instead of light. Maybe there, and then maybe we come back to this and lighten it up just to start getting something in there. We'll do something else too. Okay, so let's say this is dust. Let's try adding dirt and see if that's enough. We might want more. So color and roughness, bring the roughness all the way up. Color, make it sort of a dark brown. Now this is going to go a little bit too strong. At first, I'll just use the dirt generator. Bring that back. I definitely want it over this stuff and in the corners. Okay, so I got that going on. I think I want something else in there. Again, a lot of this is going to be very lighting dependent. What else do I want in there? Other than the lines. Maybe we'll see. Let's one more time. Again, it's the lighting is going to play such an important role. I kind of want this darker, and then maybe this dust. Let's see if I even darken that more. No. Kind of wanting it lighter. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that is an okay starting point. Alternatively, I'm just going to duplicate that for the moment, hide this one, and clear that, and just experiment with clouds. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know which one. I might want to do something like that. Maybe we'll bring the roughness up on that. And just a little bit less. Okay. Let's go on anyhow though and work on the trim. So I want a darker kind of silvery gray for that. So let's leave that. And let's create a folder. Let's call that trim. Let's add a fill. I'll just drop that into the trim. Throw that in there. Okay. Let's clear that mask for a moment and work on this here. Okay, so color, maybe roughness, whatever. Let's darken that, and let's make sure that we're going on the trim itself. There we go, that one. Okay, it might be too dark, but okay. And let's see if we can use sort of a light color and add a black mask. Let's try curvature. I may have to do some stuff here. Let's reduce that. Yeah, I kind of am liking that. And then let's just reduce that. So just see a little bit. That might be too much. Just do something like that. So let's call that curvature. I'll call that gray. And then let's add another layer, which is going to be like black. And not really reflective or anything. I'll just drag the roughness up. And let's add a black mask, and let's see how well, if our the seams we put in. Am I in the right place? Yeah. Okay, so far so good. There. And then down here, I guess it's the bottom piece. Let me just make sure that I'm doing that right. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Press F if it goes all haywire. Recenter everything. There and there. And there. And there. Let's have a look at that. And this is what we're coming up with so far. That's I'll call that black. And maybe we can see this is dirt. Maybe we can grab that dirt, copy it, copy layer, bring it up here, paste layer, and let's see if that if we got anything going on with that. Okay, there. I'm going to actually adjust it down here and just reduce it a little bit. Okay. And that's what we're getting so far. Okay. So let's just have a final look now at the stripes, and then we'll bring it into Blender. We'll see how she looks. So there's the trim and the wall, and I'm going to have this dust copy. That's fine. I'm just going to throw it in here, and I'll try just with color at first. Let's try sort of like mid-gray. I'm going to add a black mask. I'm going to add a fill, and I'm going to clear that, and I'm going to search for stripes. And this may or may not be the way I want to do this. I'm going to try 0.003 and see if I get anything. I'm going to shift down there. That may not be right, but we're going to try this. I'm going to change the rotation to 90. And let's actually try planar. And maybe I'll put this at, just so we start to see these. And stripes, I'll bring it down to say 6. That gives me that. The stripes are not going to line up exactly the same as here, and I'm fine with that. Let's try 7, and let's try a darker color. Now, if I start adding height, let's see how this goes. Just drop it in just a little bit. Very quickly it darkens up, but I'm okay with that for now, although I'm not crazy about the position of some of these. And so what I might do, I don't really care that much along these walls. I mean, because if you look at this, I mean, look at this, these two, you know, you've got a one down there, you got one there, and you got one sort of a small one, so I don't really care that much. But I don't really like it here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try, I'm on UV projection. Okay. All right. Actually, I want to be down on stripes. That's the one that I changed. Here in 3D projection settings, I'm going to play with, it's either the Y or the Z. I think it might be the Z, yeah, for this one. And so it affects the others. If I slide it down like that, because there is actually one right there beside the door, but if I do that, it affects the others, which actually look okay. And then that gives me, that'll give me that one's there, but that's fine. Who cares? That's all right. So that's probably what I'm going to go for the time being. I just want to have a look at not that one. Turn that off for the moment, and I'm going to come back to the dirt and bring the dirt up a little bit, and then I'm going to come back to this one here, and I just want to see, I guess this was the one we used the dust mask for. And you know, it really depends on which mask you get. I might do that. So again, some of this is going to be, you know, I'm going to want to tweak it, but let's go with that for the moment. So we've got just that. I've saved it. Let's do an export of textures, and I'm going to use PBR metallic roughness. I'm going to look at my normal. I need OpenGL. I'm going to drag that in. Everything else is fine, so I'm just going to make sure I use PBR metallic roughness, and we're going to save this. I'm just going to put it there, export, and I get this. So let's come back to Blender, over to shading, and this is called walls. So let's Shift Control T and get these textures. So as Black Mesa Room walls, on the roughness, and that actually throws it all in one. So let's have a look over here in Blender, and maybe I'm just going to switch to this one. I tend to like that one. And there's that guy. All right, and that is our start. Now what I will be doing is I will be coming in here, and I'm going to try this. I'll try it with you. Select the door frame, and because these textures are pretty generic and simple, I should be able to just pull that back, and it shouldn't look too bad. The only thing I'm noticing is we're getting a shadow here, but I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. I I could take a piece of this and put it there. But actually, we'll have a door frame there as well. So, and I can delete that if I want to. So that's what I've got so far. All right, and you don't really see the details right now. It's possible that with different lighting you would see more of those bumps, or maybe I'll bring them up, and we'll certainly see them with post-processing. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that for now, and in the next video we'll tweak a little bit, and then we'll go on and we'll create the door frame, and we'll start looking at this. And you'll notice that a lot of this is actually texture. All right, it's drawn, and I don't know how I'm going to handle that, but a lot of these pieces are just reused. All right, like, I mean, look at the stripes here, and then look at them there. All right, so there's that. But I'm not necessarily going to make it the same way. I'm probably going to come and grunge these walls up a bit more. But the other thing we're going to look at is the ceiling, creating the ceiling. And later on, we'll look at the floor. All right, so hopefully that's interesting to you so far. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.